Look at this thing. It's a car boat. Looks like an old Volvo Penta. You see a little motor back there. It's pretty cool. What's up, everybody, and welcome. We're actually loaded up here in Oscar. We're gonna head to the Volvo Penta from the last episode that broke the water pump stick off and spun the hoses around. Got all the parts so we can change all that stuff out. So we'll cue the intro and I'll see you there. All right, we made it. We got our wagon. Now let's get to the boat. Well, here she is on her lift. We gotta lower it down. Looks like it's gonna rain, kind of gloomy skies. We also got extremely low tide happening right now, in winter time. So we got her down in the lift here. We got the cover halfway off. Let's get this opened up so we can see what happened. This is a 300 V8, which is the generation before the direct injection motor. Take this cover off here, but it's got regular fuel rail on it. The new one after this has direct injection, which is a 5.3. This is actually a 5.7, 350 Chevy block. Good motor. But down here, like the last video we seen, our water pump locked up and broke the stick that holds it, made it spin around. So we're gonna have to get all this apart. The first thing I want to get at is the wiring. Until it slid on the belt. I got a new belt for it too because it rubbed it. Plus this boat has been sitting for a little while. That's one of the reasons why this happened. So let's work on getting this all untangled first. Let's get our bottom hose clamps off so we can pull these hoses off. There's one. Get that out of the way. The second one's really twisted. Just loosen it up all the way. There we go. There's our wiring. It's chewed up. Let me cut this tie so we can take a look at this wiring real quick. Yeah, I got it pretty good. You can see, chewed through there, really good through there. Pull it apart here. Look right here, this actually didn't break. We have a new stick for it because it's bent up. That means the water pump itself is locked up. So we have a new water pump. These are Allens. We're going to pull this apart. It comes with a new pulley and everything. We got a new stick, new belt. We're also going to do something a little different with this wiring since we're going to have to extend it and add it to our crank position sensor here because that's what that wiring was for. So we'll pull all this apart, fix it where it needs to be. But let me get this pump out of here, get the stick off, get the belt off, get everything out of our way, and then we'll start repairing all of it. Let's get this bracket off here. They've been in there for a while, they're pretty corroded. So I'm using this multi-point socket here. Seems to help really well when you got corroded stuff. There we go. Now I can get the belt off it here. Just gotta turn the tensioner down. Got a new one for it. Hopefully remember how to put that back on. Now we gotta get our water pump off here. Looks like that bearing that rides in here got wet. These things have a tendency to leak over time and stay locked up from sitting. Let's get the housing off here first. All locked in there. Oh, there we go. A little bit of pressure. And the water pump still looks halfway decent. You can tell it's starting to chew a little bit. So yeah, the bearing is behind here. You can see all the rust and everything. Look inside of here. You can see all that. This thing is completely locked in place. But luckily we got a whole new assembly. So we can go get some Allens We'll see if we can get these out of here without any problems. That might be in the way. We might be able to slide it by. The other one down here looks like it's free. So we got two. This one might give us a problem. And hopefully they'll actually come out of here with ease. It's a good sign. That's one. Let's see if this one will come out. I'm a little scared that these might break or not want to come out of here. You can see it's rubbing on here now. So I'm gonna get this one off, because then this thing will move out of the way when I pull this. Good, I'm glad they all came out. Should be able to just move this now. There we go. Now we can get our last bolt out of here. There we go. So now we just got our balancer here. Let's fix our wiring first since everything's out of the way. That'll be the easiest thing to do. This is our plug. This is where it's broken, so we're gonna have to add some wires to it. Looks like I got enough room to do it right here. And this time what I'll do is we'll route it down and we'll tie it to the hose coming back around here instead of onto that stick where it looked like, so if something happens later on, hopefully it won't pull us apart again. All right, first thing we want to do, let's just cut this off first here. And we can pull our tape off here, peel it back so we can get our wires. It's 4 wires that go to 3, 2 of them go together here. Looks like we got enough here. Make sure there's no damage on any of these. What I'm gonna do is heat shrink over all this stuff instead of electrical tape, but we're gonna have to extend these first. Let me make the extension for it first here. I'm just gonna use red wire for all 3 wires. It's probably the wrong way to do it, but you'll never see this after I heat shrink over it. I'll put a little marking on each wire so that I can heat shrink it and not have to worry about which one is which. I'm gonna use heat shrink terminals and put heat shrink over them also. All right, let's cut our wires back here. All these wires look good. These 2 wires go together. I always put a little twist on the wire. Just make sure they go into the hole here good. There's 3. Now we can heat shrink these. I'm gonna be careful with a torch. Right next to the fuel pump right here. All right, let those cool down for a second. Now we got some heat shrink here. Put this over the whole thing to protect it. Got our wire sticking out the end here. Now we can heat shrink this. That's why I labeled the ends of these so we can tell which one's which. So this doesn't have to be that long. I'm going to cut them off so we can just put some heat shrink over this. And I've got our new heat shrink terminals on our connector here. Luckily they didn't rip this into pieces. We've got no corrosion or anything in our terminals here, so we're good. We can reuse this. We'll do the same thing here. We'll double up on our heat shrink. This is our number 2 wire. 2 wires into 1. That's our white. If you're wondering, this is a special crimping tool so it doesn't break the heat shrink. That way when you heat it up, you don't have exposed metal or anything. There's no sharp edges. It just crimps it down without damaging the heat shrink. Pretty cool little tool. All right, let's heat these up. Remember that the fuel pump is right there. Now, slide our heat shrink over this. Should be able to heat this all the way down here. All right, wiring is done. What we're gonna do is put this aside just because I'm gonna figure out where I wanna tie it later on after we get everything else together. So now this hose right here is the one that got damaged. We got a new one, so let's get this off. This right here is our thermostat housing. That's what it's connected to. I'll pull it out from the bottom. You can see right here, that's where it was rubbing. Right on the belt. It's almost all the way through. Yep, we got a new one right here. Volvo Penta hose. First things first, let's get our new water pump on. Let's try to spray some of this corrosion off of here. We got our new water pump right here. It's supposed to just turn like this. Obviously the other one has been locked up. You can see right here that seal has come out. It's allowed water to get inside the bearing. You got a little Loctite here to put on these, just to make sure. Let's get one in here first. We can spin this pump wherever it needs to go. Let's get our second one. And our third one on the bottom here. Now we can tighten them all up. There we go. Now we're going to want to put our belt on here before we do anything else, because that stick has to go around the belt just like everything else. So that'll be next. Got a brand new belt here from Volvo. Plus another thing, I'm going to spin all these real quick, make sure we got no other failures in bearings. That one's good. Water pump feels good. Tensioner pulley's good. Alternator's not making any noise. Our power steering pump sounds good. Now if I can remember how this goes. That's not right. There we go. Third time's a charm. So now we got our new stick. We can put that on the water pump next. Got some new bolts for it. Alright, those are tight. Alright, now we're going to try to squeeze this hose from the bottom to the top. You can really see it here. Let's try to get it. We gotta get it between all these hoses over here. See if I can feed it through there. There we go. Get it up enough. Make sure it's not twisted or kinked or anything anywhere. It's good. Now we can get our hose on and get the clamp on it here. Here she goes. Alright, we're all the way on. Let's tighten our clamp down. There we go, she's good and tight. So that hose actually comes down here to our bottom spot here. Get our hose clamp on it. It just goes on here. Simple. You got to pull this stuff off when you do a water pump replacement anyway, so usually go on and off pretty easily. And this one here goes on this spot here, goes down like this, and it comes over to our power steering cooler, which I don't know how well you can see back there, but we're gonna have to hook that back up too. Actually goes underneath all this stuff over there. We'll get that on last. At least let's get these on here first. I'm not going to tighten these down because we're going to have to kind of move the hoses around. And I want to see where I want to tie this wiring up to. And it just goes like that. And that hose goes up underneath to our other side there. And we have our wiring here, which we have to push back through to the other side here. There we go, she's out of the way there. That plugs in to a crank position sensor down here. So it looks like after I get these other hoses tied up here, I should be able to run it to this hose here and here, our new one, right to the back here without having any interference or getting caught on anything. So you can see if you look in here, I had to put this hose on right there. That guy right there. Couldn't really get the camera in here, but that's the power steering cooler. Goes up underneath the motor. That's the one that got pulled off. I put a new clamp on it, so it should be good to go there. Now I can tighten these clamps up since they go right where they're at, and then we can tie up our wiring. Make sure that's not going to get hit on anything. So there we go. I tied it to that hose back there, and tied it up here behind this hose too. And it just makes its way up. It's out of the way of everything here. So now the moment of truth. Let's get this thing lowered down and see if it fires up. We've got keys. The batteries are on. Let's see what she does. I'm just gonna set the camera down. We got power. That's a good sign. You hear a fuel pump. Yeah, I was gonna set the camera down here and watch it fire up here. We'll check for leaks here. sure we got good oil pressure there. Sounds good. We'll make sure that our temperature there goes up to where it needs to. Should be right around that 175 mark. We got voltage. You definitely need to put some fuel in it. Let's make sure she shifts here. Yeah, she's shifting. We're moving around on the lift here. The shift cable is pretty stiff. Still working, but it's definitely going to need to be changed. Let's rev it up, see what she sounds like. Turn that off for a second. Well, you can hear me. So this thing's been sitting. It's about a 3-minute drive down the waterway to our shop. So he's gonna come in so we can get it oil changes and fuel filters and get everything checked up. He definitely needs a shift cable. It's extremely stiff and it's probably not gonna work much longer. Everything else seems to be doing good here. I'm actually going to clean up my mess here and fire it back up and let it run. That way we can make sure it warms up. Sounds real good when you rev it up. I don't hear any knocking, anything going on. That being said, that is all for today's video. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time. Later. Oscar, look at that sweet bike.